Well, I would like to tell you a bit about Sweden, the Swedish welfare system, the threat against it, and also my strong belief in that it's politics and the love of politics and the love of progressive thoughts that must regain the trust among voters all over the world today. I came now from meetings all over Sweden where our citizens now lose their jobs. The automobile and manufacturing sectors in Sweden really are bleeding. The welfare sector is starting to downsize. Teachers are leaving the classrooms. So the financial crisis is now also an employment crisis. Sweden will reach two-digit unemployment next year, or maybe the end of this year. It's very, very high. And my first remark is very obvious. We need a progressive policy now, during the crisis, in order to be ready after the crisis. And I do agree with what you said. What we see now is not the beginning of the end of the crisis, maybe the end of the beginning, but nothing more. The Social Democrats in Sweden, as you know, has a long history of being in government during the 20th century. Together with the trade union, we laid the foundation of the Swedish welfare state. And what is the Swedish welfare state? Very, very shortly. First, a unique compromise solution between the parties on the labor market and between sector and different income groups in society. Welfare services available to all, and by all we mean also women. Social security system based on the loss of income principle, financed mainly by taxpayers, and large public sector investments in research and education. And these are the broad outlines, and they have helped us during previous crises. Many have argued over the years that countries like Sweden with large expenditure cannot be efficient and successful growth nations. But our model has proven quite the opposite. It is possible to create both security and growth, development and equality, and growth and lower emissions. Today, many conservative governments in the European Union are proud of saving the budgets rather than saving the jobs. But what is the cost of high unemployment and lost education? I read Paul Krugman's blog just the other day, you know, the professor of economics and Nobel Prize winner, and he wrote just a few days ago this, and I just love it. Life is easy if you're a conservative. Even if conservatives fail completely while in power, they can turn around and say, see, that proves our point, government doesn't work. End of quote. I think that's just to the point. The current global economic storm brutally exposes the weakness of the conservative ideas. We can use the present conservative Swedish government as an example, and I will do this very quickly. I could talk about this for hours. But during the last 2 years, they really have weakened the Swedish model and the welfare system. The social security system has been shrunk. The trade union's position has been heavily undermined. Instead of investment in the welfare system, they have lowered income taxes for those with the highest incomes, top to the bottom, and it doesn't work. Thousands of people lose their jobs now. They lack income insurances, and that is so terrible for a Swedish Social Democrat to see. So our model is seriously threatened, and now many, many people who doubted us now see, okay, the effects are there. The crisis reveals a need for a new synthesis between the market and politics, an alternative to the financially driven capitalism and the market liberal failures. All over the world, critical voices are now heard concerning the enormous differences in wealth between those of us who have all and those of us who has nothing. Internationally, the word equality is finally more frequently heard, and that is so good. This opens up for progressive governments to show leadership and set examples. My party has outlined the elements which we think will be essential for minimizing the effects of the job crisis and to make us better off after the recession. And most importantly, to show that we believe in politics. First and most important, broad investments in education. During the crisis in the 30s, governments created public relief work. In the 21st century, we need to heavily invest in education again. In Sweden, almost all the ones who are unemployed, they have one thing in common, and that is their education is low and is not fitted for the labor market today. They need, as the British friend said, education, education, and education, the three most important questions. The second thing is, of course, about investments in green jobs and also in our welfare. According to a very interesting report of the Scandinavian Social Democrats, public welfare investments create up to 3 times more jobs than attempts to stimulate the economy through direct tax reliefs. So this is the most important parts of our thinking now. And finally, for me as a Social Democrat, it's absolutely clear, without efficient labor market policies, without stable bridges for people to walk on from no longer competitive jobs to new jobs, people will get stuck in unemployment and gradually lose touch with the modern labor market and lose their trust in politics. So without well-functioning social security system, poverty will rise, inequality will grow. And without active governments who dare to act and invest in order to lift us out of recession, we will lose in growth, and the gulf between groups will just be wider and wider and wider. So we share the idea that equality is a prerequisite for economic efficiency. And most of all, I think progressive politics in this time of crisis is to give always one chance to people, and after that, one more chance, and after that, yet another chance, to never, never, never give up on people. That's what politics is for me, and that's what it's all about, really. Thank you.